Marvel's newest Disney Plus series, What If, has already given us a look at how things in the MCU could have been if something different had played out. The introduction at the beginning of the episode was presented to us by the entity known as the Watcher, who basically tells us that he will be our guide through the multiverse as we ponder the question, what if? That's the main premise of the show. I feel like this is going to be the intro to like every episode or whatever, and then the Watcher kind of goes into explaining what actually happened and then what could have happened if something else played out. As soon as this started, however, I started to wonder something. Is the Watcher actually talking to us, the viewers of the show and the fans of Marvel? Or is there something more going on here than we're aware of? That's what I'm going to be discussing today as I ponder the question in the title of this video: who is the Watcher actually talking to? So if you think about it in terms of the MCU, it doesn't really make sense for the Watcher to be breaking the fourth wall and speaking to us directly about the events of the show, because we've never really seen a character in the MCU do that before. Now granted, Deadpool is able to do that. He's known for doing that in the comics, but he's not in the MCU quite yet, and he's still part of the X-Men universe. So we haven't seen him in the MCU yet. So that doesn't count. If this show truly does connect to the main MCU timeline and all the future projects in Phase 4 and beyond, and isn't just like a fun series to show us different outcomes of events we've seen, previously in the MCU, then there has to be something else going on. That's what got me thinking that maybe the Watcher is actually talking to someone within the realm of the MCU and is guiding them through the multiverse for some mysterious reason. Let's run through a few possible candidates of who he could be talking to and why he would be showing them these different universes. First up is probably the most obvious character that he could be talking to would be Doctor Strange. Now, we know that in the upcoming movie Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, it's the second Doctor Strange movie, some kind of multiversal shenanigans will be going on. Something happens that opens up all these different universes and timelines, and Doctor Strange is going to have to fix it. It's already rumored that this is connected to Loki. At the end of the Loki series, the main timeline gets broken up into multiple different branches and things like that, so that could connect to Doctor Strange too. Now, if that's the case and you look at this show, then maybe somehow Doctor Strange has contacted the Watcher, and the Watcher is guiding him through the through the multiverse to kind of show him different outcomes that may have played out if certain things happened, and how to fix the main, the sacred timeline, as they called it in Loki, how to fix that so that he can piece it all back together in the next movie. But I think there's also the possibility that this show could actually be taking place when Doctor Strange was seeing all the different outcomes with the Time Stone and Infinity War. Now, I don't know if it would go back that far with this, because this show is technically part of Phase 4 of the MCU. But if the Watcher is guiding Doctor Strange through the multiverse and showing him these different things, sort of like what the Ancient One did for Doctor Strange in the first Doctor Strange movie. She pushed his mind through all these different realities and showed him a multiverse. Well, maybe that's what was happening there when he was seeing the 14 million different outcomes of the conflict with Thanos, and 14 million different possible ways that they would win or lose against Thanos. Maybe he somehow was able to or the Watcher contacted him, or he somehow ran into the Watcher who guided him through this. Even though he was using the Time Stone, we learned in the Loki series that the timelines are all different universes and things like that. So maybe if this does take place during that time, this is Doctor Strange sort of backtracking through history, and the Watcher's kind of just introducing him to the concept of the multiverse. Look what would have happened if Peggy Carter had become Captain America instead of Steve Rogers, and blah blah blah, until Doctor Strange finally got to the one outcome that he needed to see play out, which was the main timeline anyways, or something along those lines. I mean, we know Doctor Strange has to do with the multiverse in some way in his upcoming movie, so maybe this series really is connected to that in more ways than we all think, and maybe the show will actually turn out to be more important than we think it is. Another character from the MCU that the Watcher may be actually speaking to and taken through the multiverse would be Wanda Maximoff, because we know that at the end of WandaVision she has the Darkhold. She's trying to find a reality where her kids actually exist, because she kind of just created them out of nothing in her hex in Westview, and then now they're gone because she broke that hex and all that stuff. If you watched WandaVision, you know the rest, you know how it went. But with that in mind, if she is going through these different timelines trying to find her kids, then maybe somehow she was able to summon the Watcher, or she, during her kind of spiritual travels or something, ran into the Watcher, and he is guiding her through this until she finds what she's looking for. But in order to kind of teach her about the multiverse, he has to kind of show her these different timelines and these different outcomes, like how things would have played out if something happened differently. Like I said, that's the main concept of the show. So maybe that's why he would be showing them, her or Doctor Strange, these specific things that played out, even though it has nothing to do with them, that Peggy Carter becomes Captain America or T'Challa becomes Star-Lord and blah blah blah, what we've seen from the trailers for this show. I think it's his way of teaching them how important the multiverse is and what kind of things could now become a reality if all of these timelines are all separated and they do come back together, but some things stay there. If this is patched together, what are some changes that might occur, etc. So maybe he is guiding Wanda Maximoff through the multiverse until she finds the reality where her kids are, but at the same time this is going to cause some kind of chaos and conflict that Doctor Strange is going to have to fix in the second movie, because she's in that as well. So I think that would just be interesting, revealing at the end of this series that he's actually been talking to either Doctor Strange or Wanda Maximoff. There is one more person that I think it could be as well, but I'll get into that in a minute. I think it would be, like I said, really interesting to see that this show actually is connected to the other shows, because right now it's the only animated one we've seen so far, so it doesn't seem like it would be one of those shows that is actually connected to the main MCU, to Phase 4 and everything else. It does seem like it's just one of those fun shows to let us look at things differently, but there's probably something more going on here, and I think it would be interesting to have a live action end credits scene on the very last episode of the series or something, where it kind of ties everything together to Loki or to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness or WandaVision, whatever. I think that would be kind of cool to see as well. And finally, I think there's a couple more people that are sort of I'm kind of grouping together into one. I think the Watcher could be talking to either Loki, like the Loki variant we saw in the Loki series, or Sylvie, or even a variant of Kang, because we know as soon as Sylvie killed He Who Remains, which is Kang the Conqueror, at the end of the Loki series, that's when the timelines all erupted into chaos and everything else. So maybe the Watcher now has to sort of show well, this is kind of what you caused or something. So maybe he's talking to Sylvie and showing her, look at what you've done. Now there's all these different multiverses and there's all this chaos and things like that. Or maybe he's talking to Loki to show him this is what now might become the true reality if things aren't fixed and things like that. So I think it would be interesting to tie it into that as well. Or even if he is talking to Kang, maybe this is before Kang became He Who Remains and things like that. Maybe this was kind of how he starts to learn everything about time and about how it works and how the multiverse works and everything else. Maybe the Watcher is showing Kang, all these different timelines and outcomes so that he can see and learn everything that he can, so that he can kind of stop the other Kangs. You know, like if it is He Who Remains or a variant of Kang or whatever, he can stop all the other Kangs from coming. But I do think this series is connected in some way or another to some of the other shows. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments section. Do you think the Watcher is actually talking to somebody from within the MCU, or do you think it's just this fun show that we're meant to get to kind of be in between like Loki, and I think the next show is Hawkeye and things like that? If you do think he's talking to somebody else, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Who else do you think it might be? If not Doctor Strange or Wanda Maximoff or Loki or anybody that I mentioned in this video. And be sure to like this video and subscribe for more Marvel related content, and I'll see you in the next one, everybody.
Subscribe.